Welcome to Edified, Insights for LDS Women. I'm your host, Melinda Morgan. Edified is a podcast for busy LDS women who are looking for ways to draw closer to the Spirit and deepen their connection to Christ. In a word, this podcast is about connection, our connection with each other, and our connection to God. If you're new to this podcast, then I want to thank you for joining us today and invite you to learn more about my journey by listening to the first few episodes of season 1. In those episodes, I share a lot of my story and explain the purpose for creating the Edified podcast. I also want to thank those of you who show up every week and have been supporting me in this journey from the beginning. And I want to send a giant shout out to everyone who has left me a review in iTunes. Those reviews mean so much to me, you guys. They are what is helping this podcast to grow. So thank you, thank you, thank you. Now, if you share the link to this podcast on Instagram or Facebook, please tag me so that I can thank you personally for all your support. In today's episode, we're going to look at how we can avoid some of the stress associated with the holiday season by making sure that we include plans for self-care. This sounds maybe a little selfish to some people, but we're not talking about selfishness. We're talking about self-care, and there is a definite difference. So to help me with this topic, I've invited back special guest Niki Olsen to share some of her expertise and insights on the subject. As many of you may know, Niki is a licensed clinical mental health therapist. She is also a life coach / counselor who specializes in teaching women, particularly LDS women, strategies that help them enrich their connection to themselves and to each member of the Godhead. The last time I had Niki on the podcast as a guest, she talked about mind-body bridging, and she shared a lot about her outline for receiving and seeking personal revelation. Since that episode aired, I have put into practice some of the things that Niki taught us, and let me tell you, it has made a huge difference. She shared with us about her morning routine, and she inspired me to make some changes to my own routine. Those changes have been a total game changer in making my morning prayers and meditation far more meaningful than they ever were. I am so excited to hear from her today and to learn some ways that we can reduce stress and take care of ourselves and others during the holiday season. So are you ready for this? All right, everybody, let's get edified. Hi there. How have you been?
I'm doing good.
I saw your posts about taking care of ourselves during the holidays and about the amount of pressure and stress that we put on ourselves, and women in particular, I think.
Mm-hmm.
And I thought, oh my goodness, I have got to get her back on our show so that she can share some of these ideas and insights with everybody. Because even though I think some of us know this, we forget, or I don't know, we just get so autopilot. It's the holidays and I have to do all of this.
Yep.
And I think we just forget, or we think we're being selfish if we, kind of want to take a step away from that and take care of ourselves.
Yep.
So I think I mentioned to you in the email that I have spoken with 3 different women just in the past few weeks, and all 3 of them told me that they have thrown in the towel. Like they're done. They don't buy presents for their kids. They give them money. Here, go buy your own present. They don't wrap. They don't bake goodies to take around to the neighbors. They say no to almost every social function. They've had it. They have literally said that they were so afraid of hurting somebody's feelings or of offending somebody because you spent more on this person than that person, or they forgot, somebody brings over a gift and then they feel like, oh, I didn't get them a gift. And then they feel this pressure and this so much. And they just said, we're done. We're just saying no to everything, and we'll give the kids money. They can buy what they want, and we'll just plan on getting together and having a meal.
Yeah.
And I thought, wow, it kind of breaks my heart when I hear women tell me things like this. Not these aren't selfish women either. These are women who do so much service all the time
Yeah.
that I know that it had to have gotten pretty bad for them to be like, I'm done.
Yeah. Yes. Yes.
Right.
Yes.
And I've kind of noticed that. I think I mentioned this also in the email, these 3 areas where this is where the highest level of stress seems to be. The idea of buying presents and the cost going into debt
Mhm.
because you are putting everything on charge cards and then you get the bills in January and you're like, what have I
Yes.
done? Or
Yes.
just having too many functions to attend or too many things you're expected to be part of.
Mhm.
And then the idea of the people that show up and they have something for you and you don't have anything for them.
Yeah.
So I think those are all very legit fears. They're definitely valid concerns for a lot of people, but I'm just hoping that you can give us some pointers, and I'm just going to turn the whole thing over to you right now and let you help us figure out how we can take care of ourselves and maybe de-stress a little.
Okay, sounds good. Yeah, I thought I would first kind of talk about kind of what the difference between self-care and selfish, because I think that's a really great starting point. And I saw this post by Dr. Julie Hanks the other day, and I thought it just described it perfectly. I was like, I couldn't have said it better myself, but she said, self-care is doing what's in your best interest with regard for others. And selfishness is doing what's in your best interest without regard for others.
Wow.
So you're in both, you're doing what's in your best interest, but you're doing it either with regard for others or without. So I have a little analogy that I use with my clients all the time to kind of illustrate this. And it's the analogy of the oxygen mask that a flight attendant will tell you, right? When you're on an airplane and they give a little speech at the beginning and they say, if the oxygen mask falls out of the ceiling, you need to put the oxygen mask on yourself first before helping other people, right?
Right.
Because if you don't, you're only going to help 4 or 5 people. You're going to pass out and you're no good to anybody else, right? And then you're a hindrance to everybody because you're in the way, right?
Right.
But if you put your own oxygen mask on, then you can help endless amounts of people and you're not putting yourself in the way of other people. So by putting your own oxygen mask on, you're doing what's in your best interest first, but with regard to other people. You're wanting to help yourself first so that you can help other people.
That is such a great analogy. I love that.
Yeah, because I think oftentimes we think if I'm putting the oxygen first, that's selfish because I'm thinking about myself first. But you don't think about long term what that does to you. And that's kind of what you were talking about at the beginning with people getting burnt out.
Right.
Is they were doing things to for other people first without regards to themselves, and that creates burnout, right? Because you're never going to feel fulfilled or satisfied, or you're just going to be exhausted by doing that because you're not putting your own oxygen mask on.
Oh yeah, we have the January blues. It's at the come down.
Yeah. And so it becomes like just like spending money, right? Like you're putting your if you're spending all this money to make other people happy and buying these gifts to hopefully make them happy or do something, then you're not thinking about yourself. You're not thinking about the credit card bills, the budget, the things like that. You're not doing what's in your best interest with regards to other people, right?
So
You're doing what's in the other person's best interest and you're not thinking about yourself in that regard. So I think the holidays really takes away from our ability to think about self-care because we're often taught in the holidays to think about other people, which is great. But how do you think about other people if you haven't thought about yourself first?
that is such a great point. How do
Yeah.
we retrain ourselves?
I have some ideas for you. I have
I
some
am so
ideas.
glad.
Yes, yeah. Because really, making yourself a priority can often help you connect better with other people too. Think about it. If you have your oxygen mask on, you're taking care of yourself, you're going to show up as your best self. And when you show up as your best self, you're better able to connect with other people. And that's essentially what we want to be doing during the holidays, is we want to connect with other people. So it's important to take care of ourselves to do that, but it also reduces, when we use self-care, reduces depression, anxiety. We have greater happiness. We sleep better. We have more energy. We're more satisfied. So it in the long run, really, your life is going to have a lot more to it if you are taking care of yourself first.
I'm going to start saying that to people. It's like, excuse me, I need some oxygen.
I know. I always tell people, are you putting your oxygen mask on first? Sounds like you're not. Sounds like you're stretching yourself thin there.
Seriously, I need oxygen and I need it now. I'm just going to carry a tank with me.
So I came up with 3 gifts that you can give yourself this holiday season to put your oxygen mask on.
Oh,
okay?
Hey, let me get my paper ready. I'm going to write this down. Okay.
All right. So the first gift I want you to give yourself is the gift of self-compassion. Okay. As women, we're often beating ourselves up. We're judging ourselves. We're comparing ourselves. We're ruminating on all the negative, just like those scenarios you talked about at the beginning, just really ruminating on that negative and really focusing on our weaknesses, which really focusing on our weaknesses takes a lot of time away from what we want to be doing and causes a lot of stress. We often think that, if I could just be like somebody else, or if I could do something like that person, or if I could have what that person has, then I could save myself time, or I could be this way, right? So these comparisons. But in reality, if we give ourselves that self-compassion, we're going to save ourselves time. Okay. So I'm going to give you an example, and I'm going to use the one that you said at the beginning. So we have a neighbor that brings us over, shows up at our door, brings us a gift, right? And we're like, oh my gosh, I don't have anything. I feel guilty. Now I've got to go buy something, or I got to make something. I got to return the deed. All of the negative, right? The comparisons, right. First of all, right? Like they give me something, I have to give something back, or now I have to make it better, or now if I don't, what does that mean about me? All of that is taking away from the experience that you just had, right? So a self-compassion thought in that moment would be, someone brought you a gift that you have not brought a gift for. A self-compassion thought would be gratitude for being thought of in that moment, for being loved by somebody else. It's not really about you and what you have to give back. It's about that person giving that to you, right?
That is such a good point.
Caring for you,
yeah.
Right? And if we are ruminating in our minds about that negative and how bad we are, how is that being portrayed to that person that's giving that to us? We want to access that part of our brain or within ourselves that has more self-compassion in that moment, that is just compassionate for that neighbor. And like, I am just so grateful that you're thinking of me, right? And feeling and enjoying that moment of love and understanding that you aren't going to possibly think of everybody that's thinking of you. Maybe the Spirit prompted that person to bring you something that is a tender mercy to you. And now you're turning it into a situation that Heavenly Father didn't want you to turn it into. That's not why He prompted that person to do that. Maybe it was for them. Maybe they needed to do that service to feel something in their lives. And now you've made it about something else.
That is so true. Because we've totally taken away the value of the gesture. Yeah. And they're not expecting, oh, well, I got you this. Yep. To get me. And nor should we expect that when we do something for others. You know, if we show up, we don't show up with the idea of, well, I wonder what they got me. I wonder if it's equal to what I got them.
Exactly.
Well, it's like, who wants us to feel that way? We know who. The adversary wants us to feel that way, right?
You're not going to give the gift for that purpose, right? We're not giving gifts or giving our neighbors things to one up people or hope that we get something in back in return that's better. We're not doing it for that reason.
There goes that comparison trap again, right? That you've spoken about before.
Uh-huh.
and that it creates enmity.
Yeah.
It really does. And oh, that's such a good point
Yeah.
for us to understand and actually believe that
Mm-hmm.
in the moment.
Yeah.
Opposition shows up. What are you going to do with it?
Yes. And one way to do that, so it's hard to tell yourself in that moment, to just convince yourself of that self-compassion. So one thing that I do is I try to use, I call it a connecting tool. Sometimes people call it a grounding tool, but I call it a connecting with the spirit. Okay. Is just notice some of your senses around you. So you notice as soon as you notice that negative spiral start going, what I want you to do is just notice like how the sounds are around. What sounds am I hearing around me? How does the ground feel underneath my feet? How does the air, notice how the air feels as you breathe. Notice gravity on your body. Just connect with some of those senses. And that's a tool, that's a connecting tool to connect you with the spirit. And the spirit is what can whisper those self-compassion thoughts to you.
That's part of the mind body bridging process, right?
Yes,
Okay. I
exactly.
thought I didn't recognize this. Oh,
Yes,
yeah.
yes, exactly. Yeah, and there's so much more to that. But
Right.
in this aspect, it can be a connecting tool. You are not going, your power for self-compassion comes from the Holy Ghost. We won't hear those self-compassion thoughts or connect to them if we're in this opposition ruminating state. We need to connect with the spirit rather than the opposition that's convincing us of something the adversary wants us to believe about ourselves or that situation.
I think if I did that, if I could practice doing that, like during yoga, and it sounds kind of weird, but in yoga, you purposely put your body into a stressful pose. If I could be thinking about this, the notice your senses,
Yeah.
then when I get in a stressful situation during the day off the mat, I will have built some muscle memory kind of to
Exactly.
go into this. And I think that would be so powerful for me,
Yeah.
probably for
Yeah.
a lot of people.
Yeah. The second gift is the gift of time. And who doesn't want more time in their life, right? But I don't think if we actually gave ourselves another hour or two in our day, that it would actually make a difference because we would fill it up anyways, right?
Right.
Or I notice oftentimes if I have more time on my hands, I don't get any more done. It doesn't work that way. So it's not that time makes a difference, but it's how do we create a different perception or a mindset around time. Okay. And the three things that I do every day to give myself time in the day are number one, and all of these three things can be combined into one, or you can separate them out and do them throughout the day. I tend to combine them into one. The first one is a morning routine. When I have a morning routine, I get way more done in the day because I start my day off with this is what I'm doing, and that momentum that gets going is what keeps the ball rolling, right? And so when you can start with a routine like that, you're going to create more time in your day. I notice on like Saturdays and Sundays these days, because I don't have a routine either on Sundays, that I don't get as much done. Like I will, pretty soon it's 10 o'clock and I'm like, on a weekday, I am up and going and I am ready and to go by 7:30. But on the weekends, when I don't have that same routine, the day gets away from me and I've gotten nothing done.
Doesn't it
Right?
make you look forward to Monday morning?
Yeah. Yes. I love a routine. And it starts with the morning. It doesn't matter what time your morning routine starts. It doesn't have to start at 5 a.m. It doesn't have to include anything hard, but it needs to be routine, which means something happens at a certain time every single day. The second thing that you can do to create more time in your day is to do a solo activity. If you are not connecting with yourself at some point during your day, it's just like the oxygen mask analogy. You're not going to have anything to give to somebody else. Now, a solo activity can be like, for me, it's reading my scriptures. It can be exercising. It can be going for a walk. It can be, anything that you're doing by yourself. But the purpose of, you're just really connecting with you and giving back to you in that moment.
Cool.
And then the third thing that you can do to give yourself more time is to have some sort of meditation in your day. Now, meditation does not mean stopping your thoughts and being silent and quiet. I do meditation differently depending on the day and what I have. Sometimes it's meditating on my prayers before I say them. Sometimes it's meditating by using my senses when I'm doing the activity. Sometimes I'm meditating when I go for a walk, or I meditate when I just step outside for a moment. I like to think of it as a connection with God. It's your moment to connect spiritually. And I didn't call it connect spiritually because then people think like, oh, read your scriptures, say your prayers, but I don't think it's that. I think it's more than that. I think it's about what activity am I doing that's connecting me with God in this moment.
So I have to share this with you because when
Yeah.
you were on last time, you shared about your morning routine and you made a comment that just it stuck in me so much. You said that to get yourself up, you have to create a routine that's worth getting up for and that you look
Yep.
forward to. And I thought, how can I do that? Because I had it at one time, and then through all my surgeries, I lost it. And I just didn't feel that motivation to get up earlier again. And so
Yeah.
I did that. I created a routine that I look forward to. And I think of you almost every morning as I'm doing this.
Oh, that's awesome.
But that includes a little bit of yoga, and it always includes meditation and prayer.
Yeah.
And it was something else that you said was talking about connecting with all three members of the Godhead. So that's something that I visualize myself doing
Hmm.
every Monday through Friday because we know how the weekends go.
Yeah.
But actually, literally visualizing myself walking into a triangle, approaching the throne of God with, Christ at my side because I'm going to pray in his name, and the Holy Ghost is my companion because he's with me
Yeah.
and he's going to help me know what to pray for. And I'd go through this visualization process where I'm physically or mentally, spiritually connecting to each member and drawing on their powers in those prayers. And it has been a game changer. And I just take all that back to that episode with you where you
Oh,
talked
that's
about
awesome.
how powerful it can be when we're connecting with all three members.
Mm-hmm.
And Elder Bednar talked about creating our day spiritually. And that's what you just basically said, is you are giving yourself time to think about your day and you're creating it spiritually before you even start the day. And so that it stays with you throughout the day. And I mean, that's exactly what I'm
Yeah.
hearing in these 3 steps that you just talked about in giving ourselves time. And I
Yeah.
think that's beautiful.
Yeah. And you do have more time in the day, right? Your day is more guided, it's directed, it has the power with you from the Godhead throughout that day, and you are in sync with what they want you to be doing, right? And so the day is just smoother.
It's an incredible difference. It's a game changer for sure.
Yeah. Yeah. I love that. Thank you for sharing that.
Oh, it's amazing.
Ah, yes. So good. So good. So the last gift that you can give yourself this holiday season for self-care is the gift of decluttering. Not decluttering stuff. Okay. We're not talking about like getting through your drawers and like going through your clothes. We're talking about decluttering your life with the things that are causing you to feel disconnected from yourself, others, and God. So you need to think about those things. So I have some ideas, and I want you to kind of visualize as I'm saying these things, which one stands out to you that, yeah, that's the thing I feel like is really disconnecting me from me, my true self, my true identity, from other people or from the Godhead. So the first one can be, and this isn't an exhaustive list, but these are the ones I see most often. Social media time. So way we can declutter that is it's not necessarily time on there, but maybe you can declutter who you're following by noticing how you feel after you read certain posts, or declutter, um, you know, when you're on social media. How do you feel after that? Do I feel a better connection with myself, others, and God after I use social media during this time of the day? Another one is decluttering your busy schedule. Finding those things in your day that just don't need to be there. What are the things that keep me disconnected from other people? Like example, Like some things in my life may make me more irritated. And so when I'm doing them, like working on a project that just frustrates me right before my husband gets home from work, I'm going to have a salty attitude towards him. Right. And so that's not a great thing. Maybe I can declutter that from my life and do that at a different time. That's kind of a little silly example, but just think about those things. Like what are the things that I can declutter from my schedule that can help me connect better with people or with God, right? Is it that I can get rid of something that happens in the morning so that I can connect better with God in the morning or have a better morning routine, thinking about it that way. And these last few, maybe if this is really what's disconnecting you from yourself, God, and others, you may need extra support with these ones. So comparisons, fear, like fear of failure, fear of disappointing others, fear of doing something wrong, something bad happening, or feeling inadequate, not good enough, or just your inner critic. You might need extra help with that. And that's
Right.
important to really seek out and find somebody that you connect with to help you do that.
How does someone know when they've gotten to that level that, you know what, this is more than just the normal, I can handle this if I do these things, or, you know what, I need extra help for this?
Okay. So let's think about it in those three areas. So you would know if you don't feel like yourself anymore. You feel like you're sort of a shell of yourself. You feel like I'm doing everything for everybody else and I don't know who I am anymore. You probably are not going to be able to do that on your own because you've already given so much. You're going to need some extra support and guidance with that. If you're having some connecting with others, if you're having contention in a relationship that just feels insurmountable, overwhelming, you're not keeping good boundaries with other people, you might want to look at getting some extra support with that. Or if you find yourself not being able to connect with God, like you feel alone, you feel like you can't hear him at all anymore. You feel, what really is kind of the point in this relationship with God. Like you don't understand that. It feels kind of like the gospel is just a duty or a checklist kind of thing for you. Then you're not really connecting in a relationship way. And that might mean getting extra support and help with that.
Thank you. I've had people ask me that before, and I've never known. My daughter went through depression and she needed to get help. It took us a while to be like, this is beyond her. She can't do this on her own. And that's kind of scary for a parent, you
Yeah.
know.
Yeah,
So
absolutely. Absolutely. Yes. Good. So the free gift that you can give yourself. And I would say try not to give yourself all the gifts this season. Don't
oh man,
overwhelm
are
yourself.
you sure? I was kind of looking forward to all three of those.
If you can, great, but don't overwhelm yourself and cause more stress. But I would say, what was one thing that really stood out to you and focus on that? You know what I mean? Like get that one done first. And that will give you, number one, that will put your oxygen mask on. And then you'll better be able to connect with who you truly are, with other people, and with God.
That's incredible. Thank you so much. Those gifts are timely for sure. Are we not all excited to see 2020 go? I mean,
Yeah.
but I
Yes.
think some of us think, oh, great, 2020 is done. But what about 2021?
Exactly.
It's like,
Exactly.
it's
Yeah.
not all going away.
Exactly. Yes. I've been talking about that on Instagram that, just because January 1st comes, things aren't going to change. Right. And so you need to really learn to take care of yourself now, because I don't think that, number one, the calendar changing isn't going to make things different or better. And life is just, opposition is getting stronger and stronger and stronger. It's supposed to, right? Like that's what we've been told. And so we need to learn how to connect with our true selves and take care of ourselves more than ever.
So true. And like you said last time, opposition is part of the plan.
Hmm.
It's inside all of us for a purpose.
Hmm.
And I remember that every time it shows up, I may not do it instantly, but shortly I will get to that point where I say, oh, that's opposition. And now I have a choice to make on how I'm
Yeah.
going to use my agency. And
Love it.
that has been powerful. So Just letting you know, I am working on those things we
You
talked
are doing
about.
amazing. So good.
So the last time you were on, I asked you what edifies you, and you answered that question. And now I'm going to switch it over to light, which is kind of similar, but that's our theme, or the theme for the Edified podcast this whole season.
Mhm.
And I'm trying to figure out what it is that we do that adds light to our soul and also helps us to reflect the light of Christ to others so that they can see the path more clearly. So, what do you do to add light to your soul?
Well, we kind of talked a little bit about them, but what my main goal is, and what I've really been working on the last couple of years, is building a relationship with each member of the Godhead. When I have a relationship, and when that relationship is strong, then I feel like I have their light. And when I feel like I have a relationship with them and I have their light, I feel like that's reflected when I help or work with other people. I often will pray for, every morning, I pray for the clients that I will be meeting with that day, and that specifically the words that our heavenly parents need that person to hear that day will be provided to me in that moment. And oftentimes I will just be talking and I have no idea where it's going, but the words are just coming. And it's incredible that they can then see and hear and feel what their heavenly parents want them to know in that moment through me, because I have spent that time building that relationship to trust that the Holy Ghost is going to be there for me, provide those words. Christ is going to enable me with that power and strength to do that. And our heavenly parents are going to give me and help me understand what my will is in that moment and what I am supposed to be doing. So it kind of comes full circle in that.
It does. And it goes back to that you give yourself the gift of time because you've allowed yourself to meditate. And I just heard you tell me how that self-care turned around and helps all of your clients
Yeah.
because you took that time.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. So the outline for Seeking Revelation is what I do every morning to build my relationship with each member of the Godhead. So I have the outline for Seeking Revelation, but I built a whole course around that called the Spiritual Survival Course that helps women to be able to learn to receive revelation, connect and build relationships with each member of the Godhead, and learn to have more meaningful prayers. So it's powerful it's about the lessons that I've learned and what Heavenly Father has taught me the last couple years in doing all of that. So it's amazing.
And so people who want to have access to that outline for Seeking Personal Revelation and to check out your course, they can just go to nikiolsen.com, nikiolsencoaching.com.
Coaching. Yep.
And it's
Yep.
Niki when you spell Niki Olsen, Nikiolsen coaching.com. And I will put the link to that in my show notes for sure.
Awesome.
Niki, is there anything that you would like to add before we close?
I don't think so. I think if any of those things stood out to you that you feel like, you know what, that rings true to me, that I want help with that. I also offer, I'm a licensed clinical mental health therapist, and I offer individual coaching on who want to learn to connect better with other people or with God through specific tools that work for me and help me, but have helped many clients with that. So definitely people can check that out. If you want to extra help or support in that, and you felt like this was something that spoke to you, reach out to me.
All right. I'll put those links in the show notes and people can peruse your website. She's got some amazing things on there, you guys. And please do check out she has a link on there where you can try mind body bridging.
Yes.
Try that because I'm telling you, it's really powerful. There's a lot to check out on her website, you guys. And she's the expert.
Thank you. Thank you. Thanks for having me on. I totally appreciate it.
Oh, thank you so much for being our guest again. And
Yes.
hey, happy holidays.
Thank you. You too. You too.
Okay, let's talk about our do one thing invitation for this week. You know it's going to come off of Niki Olsen's gifts, right? So she gave us 3 gifts to give ourselves, right? And she said to choose one. So self-compassion, time, or decluttering. Pick one of those 3. And if you forgot all the details, look in the show notes and I'll be sure to put it all in there. Pick one of those 3 to focus on this week and give yourself a gift. How about that? You're giving yourself a gift at Christmas. It's a great time. All right, you guys, that's it for today. Thank you so much for joining me, you guys. I hope you have a great week. And don't forget to tag me if you share this podcast episode with somebody on social media. All right, see you next time.